Welcome to Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I'm going to assume that for some of you, this is the first time that you've really come into contact with this strange thing called Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So as I said, I will run through it very quickly, but just as a brief introduction, it is a very long name, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and it's not very user-friendly. However, it does capture the key aspects, N being the neurology of your mind, because neuro-linguistic programming more than anything is about mindset. And that's why I love it so much, because if you ask about the success of people in the world, in whatever area of life they've succeeded in, all of them determine it's their mindset which is the foundation for all success. You can be born into privilege and lose it all because you've got a bad mindset, or you can be born into poverty, as many great entrepreneurs are, and through a really positive mindset build yourself up into being, whether you're a financial leader or a spiritual leader or a great sports person. So it's all about that mindset and the neurology of our mind. N is linguistics. So this is both the linguistics of how we talk to ourselves, but also how we talk to others. So it's about a communication model. And in fact, in neuro-linguistic program, we teach you not one, but two incredibly powerful linguistic models. One based on the work of Milton Erickson, which is about hypnosis, about how you can use suggestion in your language to get people to take on your suggestions of, whether it's stop smoking or losing weight or being empowered. And the other is the work of Virginia Satir, who is a family therapist and was able to very quickly drill down into people's unconscious patterns that they run from their linguistics, and therefore help them find out what is blocking them. So we teach two different linguistic programs. And then the P is, of course, the programming. So we are products of the programming of our childhood. We model our mum and our dad and our peers and our school friends, and that has a huge influence on how we see ourselves in the world and how we communicate with the world. And some of that is incredibly productive and generative and helpful, but others is limits us in what we can do. And therefore the programming part of neuro-linguistic programming is really reprogramming those programs that don't help us at our neurological level, so that we can become a better communicator with a better mindset. Now, I won't go into the history. It's based on two originators of NLP, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, who were in California at the time and studied at the University of California in Santa Cruz. And they developed this idea on the back of an incredibly novel type of suggestion at the time, which was, at the time, psychologists were working with people with mental problems and trying to fix these so-called broken people. Well, what Bandler and Grinder thought was, rather than try to fix broken people and model normalcy, normal people, and try to get people up like that, why don't we model the best of the best? Why don't we model the Richard Bransons and the Barack Obamas and the, great people of the world, and see how they think and they act, and teach that to people, so that we can all run these patterns of excellence rather than mediocrity. And so that's how NLP was born. They modeled, as I said, Milton Erickson, who was a great hypnotherapist, and Virginia Satir and another guy, Fritz Perls, who were all excelled in their fields, and in particular helped other people make changes in their life. So you might be asking, where, can NLP help you? And we've put out some ideas of what NLP can do for you. I would love to go around the room. I normally do this, but I'm going to try to read your mind and see if some of these ideas are the reasons which you might be thinking you might get benefit. So some of us come to NLP because we've heard it helps us become better communicators. Other people have emotional issues from the past, maybe from when they were very young, and want to get rid of that emotional baggage because it's dragging them back. Other people hear that NLP helps us start a new business. If we want to go into the coaching or the mentoring business, we get told that NLP people can help us do that. It might be that we are feeling that we need something extra in our current job or our current business to excel at what we're doing. We might be a negotiator and we might want to use influence in sales or communication skills for better deals, that sort of thing. Maybe we're a manager and we want to use NLP to set goals and create motivation in others. That too is possible. Maybe we just want to improve relationships with our loved one or with our kids or with our work colleagues or our friends. Or we just want to understand about the mind. All of this is possible with NLP because NLP teaches us how the mind works and how we can use it skillfully. So NLP starts with a question of, what do I want? Now, the founders of NLP, John Grinder and Richard Bandler, came up with this new and novel idea that, hey, we don't need to invent anything in the world. We can just model the people who already have the skills that we want. And so, if anything, in a little while, we'll be talking about the presuppositions or the mindsets of NLP. And the first one is, if someone else can do it, then we can too. That is a foundational understanding or idea of NLP. You don't need to go out and invent the best mindset in the world. There are people who are truly exceptional people in this world. And if we model how they, first of all, act in their life, also how they communicate in their life, and finally, and most importantly of all, how they think and what their mindset is, then we can get the same results as they do. So if you want a great business in health and wellness, find somebody who already has a great business and model them. If you want to be a great high jumper, model exactly how a high jumper thinks and acts and trains in high jumping. If you want to model a great mother or whatever it is, we can do that. So that's the foundation of NLP. So nothing in NLP is really new, although there are some things which are sort of discovered by NLP, and I'll go through those possibly here or in the prac. But it is about looking around you and seeing when people do things well and modeling them. So if we wanted to set a goal, actually, before I do that, I'm going to ask you to take a moment now to think about what is something that you would like to achieve in the next year. And I would like, if you've got a pen and paper, to go ahead and write it down in a single sentence about what you would like. Once you've written it down on a piece of paper, I'd like to put it into the chat window so we can see a couple of people's goals. Because I want to make this fairly practical. So I'm just going to open up my chat window. And if you don't mind sharing, have a think about what you would like to achieve, and just in the chat window, write down a goal for yourself. It might be something. Okay. $10,000 a month from Dinesh. Good. All right. We've got one goal up there. Let's see who else can put their goal into the chat box. And what I'm going to be looking for is the way you write your goal. Yeah, a successful NCS consultant and mindful resilience facilitator. Great. I want to complete a diploma in counseling. Great. Good on you, Kathy. Financial stability and peace. Now, as everybody keeps writing their goals in there, these are all wonderful goals. Think about how how can I say, how confident you are in achieving these goals. Do you feel positive that these goals are going to come to fruition? And I'm going to ask that question after we do a little exercise to see if it changed. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you think it's really pie in the sky, it's never going to happen, and 10 being it's an absolute certainty that it's going to happen, just rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Happy marriage and good, very successful, healthy, wellness, business, 50-50, yep. Great. All right, so some of them are pretty confident. That's great to hear, others less so. Now, before we get on to this other stage, goals are set by the conscious mind. So we have, I wish I should have a whiteboard here really. You've seen the sort of iceberg. Here we've got a lovely tree. I don't know how we can put it, but the branches are perhaps the conscious mind, but the bulk of the mind is what we call the unconscious mind. So you've seen that iceberg sort of picture where you've only got a small amount floating above the thing. That's like our conscious mind, and that's what sets the goals. But if our unconscious mind is not on board, how likely is it that we're going to get our goal? Pretty unlikely, right? Because you've all had this New Year's resolution of something like, I'm going to stop eating chocolate. And the conscious mind says, yeah, we need to stop eating chocolate because it's bad for us. But the unconscious mind says, yum, I'm never going to give up chocolate. And let's face it, we last maybe a few days and then we start eating chocolate again. So if we don't get the unconscious mind on board, then our goals don't come to a fruition. Now, NLP understands this and works to try to get a mind that we create at the conscious level to really sink deep into the unconscious mind and get it resonating with the unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind wants to see this goal, and you will see dramatic different results in what you get out if the unconscious mind is on board. So if I swap back, and you might have seen something like this. We go into it in much more detail on the NLP prac, but as a very sort of rough guide, one of the things we need to do is to make sure our goal is clear and concise. And you have written clear and concise goals in your in the chat box, which is good. They say that the unconscious mind is similar to a 7-year-old's mind. So if a 7-year-old can understand your goal, then it's a good, concise and clear goal that the unconscious mind can understand. You also needs to be realistic, obviously. So for example, and the model for me is if someone else can do it, then I can too. So, you know, if I wanted to be an Olympic athlete in 2 years' time, there's nobody in the world that with my current body state of health would be able to get to the Olympics by the time the postponed Japan Olympics comes on next year. So that's unrealistic, but definitely achieving a certain growth in my business. Many people can do it, so it's realistic. Is it ecological? Means does it suit me? Is it good for my family? Is it good for the planet? As if now means that you can actually see the event happening. What we do to create an imprint on our unconscious mind is to visualize ourselves achieving that goal. And that's why these vision boards help so well, because over and over again, when you look at the vision board, you make a sort of imprint on your unconscious mind. This is what I want. And the more you do that, the unconscious mind says, oh, I see. And I'm going to tell you why it works in a little while. It also needs to have a date on it. Now, I notice in your in the chat room that very few of you put a date on it. Admittedly, I didn't ask you to, but research has shown that if you say, I'm going to achieve this goal by December this year, then it's far more likely to happen. Whereas if you leave it open, the unconscious mind sort of says, well, we haven't got it yet. I know we're working towards it and we'll keep working towards it. It is a goal, it's out there in the future, but you've got to put a date on it, and it needs to be toward, which means you need to be motivated towards it. which means you need to have a positive attitude. I'll go more into that later. Also needs to have an end step, which means the visualization that you see it as if now needs to be a visualization of you actually getting that ticket for that holiday, or seeing that money in your account, or you accepting that diploma from the graduation ceremony, or whatever it is. So I'd like you now to take that goal and put it in terms of it is now, and put a date when you want it, and describe the picture of you attaining that goal, and try to make that picture as real as possible. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that. And then as you do that, I can't see you, so I'm just going to assume that you're doing that. As you bring that into the unconscious mind and see yourself achieving that picture, I want you to put it out into that date when it's going to happen, and really see it come alive. Breathe all your willpower to see that it will come to fruition. And then ask yourself, has your score of your likelihood of your feeling of achieving that goal increased? And maybe put yes if you feel that this small exercise has made your goals seem more achievable. And I'll just quickly have a look. It is May, Kathy's written, it is May 2021 and I have completed a diploma in counselling and be qualified as a counsellor. Now, when you read that sentence and picture yourself getting it, Kathy, does that make you feel more than a 7 that you had before of achieving that goal? I can certainly say that if your unconscious mind is on board, you will definitely have a much, much greater chance of achieving what you want, because your unconscious mind will be looking for opportunities to fulfill that. Yes, there you go, a 9. So thank you, Kathy. Way! Good one. All right, so one of the things one of the things, of course, that we talk a lot about in NLP is how to achieve what we want. And let me go back to the screen share. So that is kind of the first area of where we go. Now, there's my little break bit. One who understands others has knowledge, but what we want more than anything is for us to understand ourselves with NLP. Now, I'd like you to take you through, this is what I call the grey zone, about people that are wanting to come to NLP. So this is kind of a pictorial diagram of our life, where the white zone is where everything goes well for us, and the black zone is where everything in our life is going wrong. And sure, life's journey is full of ups and downs, as we say. There are times when things are going very well, and other times when, you know, stuff happens in the world and we have finances, we have relationship problems, businesses go wrong, our kids have problems, and we go into the black zone. Now, in NLP, I have many people come to us for coaching and indeed to do practitioner courses. And what's interesting is I find that there's quite a few people for coaching who approach me who are executives and whose life is already in the white zone. But because they understand how important coaching and mindset is, they're willing to pay money, and they've got the money to pay that amount of money, and they will want to have coaching. Now, other people think, oh no, I don't need coaching, life's going okay, until it all comes crashing down on them. And at that point, they suddenly realize I need help, and they reach out for a coach. Now, sometimes they're in a terrible state, maybe even their finances aren't very good, so they haven't got the money to pay a coach. But interestingly enough, we get people in the black zone and people in the white zone, and the people we miss out on are the people in what I'll call the grey zone. And most of the time we're in this grey zone where things could be improved in life, but hey, it's not too bad, you know, we've got funds coming in, etc. And what is a shame is I believe that it's in that grey zone where NLP and coaching can help the most, because you're not desperately just trying to keep your life shackled together, the last remnants of what's there. But also you've got the money that you can actually spend and the time that you can dedicate to doing this course. And so those are the people which we would ideally like to target as NLP people who to learn these techniques of self-empowerment. But ironically, they're sometimes the ones who procrastinate the most and say, you know, and in fact, what they say is, I can't. Normally is, do you want to do this? I can't. Why? Because, and there's always, it always usually boils down to two reasons: time or money. So we're going to explore that in order to have a correct mindset, we need to have a mindset of a can-do attitude. And it's like, how is this not possible? Not how is this impossible? It's so easy for us to think of how it can't happen, and very difficult to think, how can this happen? And the people who, one of the aspects of people who succeed in this life is because they look at how something can happen, not or how it can't happen. So think about where you are, whether you're in the white zone or the black zone or the grey zone, and how that affects your decision making. Because what we really want is change starts with a commitment at the unconscious mind. Now, when we're in the grey zone, we have that luxury, because life isn't going too bad, we have that luxury of putting things off, of procrastinating. And it's when you get into the black zone that you realize you can't go any further and that you desperately need help right now, that you make a commitment at the unconscious mind. So the key is, how do we get people who are in this zone of, well, things aren't going too bad. I don't think I would like to do personal development, but I really have so much on my plate. And sure, we are all very busy people. I'm not denying that, but self-development is really the key aspect, and all success starts with that. So how do you make that ongoing commitment to develop your mind? And even I, at this stage, you know, I've done so much over the past 20 years. I've spent so much money, like well over $100,000 on courses to develop myself. And yet even now I'm looking, how can I squeeze in gaps to do more meditation retreats or more learning in terms of mindset? So reasons for empowerment. Now, I find that when people come to me, there are two main categories of why people are not succeeding. And the first is they're not sure where they're going. So when we ask them to write a goal, their goals are often fuzzy, like, well, I'd like a job in the wellness industry. I mean, it sounds like a good goal, doesn't it? But, you know, that is so vague. Like, when do you want the job? What type of job? What particular niche in the wellness industry do you want to work in? Who are the ideal clients that you want to be attracting? If you have a vision that is so fuzzy, you know, that it could be one of a million things, you'll never achieve the vision. So people have a lack of where they want to go. In fact, some people know where I'm getting some feedback here. Thank you for whoever turned their mic off. Some people know where they don't want to go. You ask people, well, where do you want to be in 5 years? Well, I don't want to be in a relationship like I'm in right now. Yeah, okay, but if you're not in there, where do you want to be? Well, I sure as hell don't want to be in the job I'm in, and they'll tell you where they don't want to be. So that's a lack of vision. Now, the second thing is the emotional baggage. So some people do know what they want in life, but they're almost chained by negative emotions and limiting beliefs. So yes, I want to do this, but I'm not sure if I can. I mean, people like me never get up to those heights. I'm never going to have that healthy body that I want. You know, it's limiting beliefs. So we're going to talk about both of those, starting with the first part, which is the vision or the mindset of people. But before we do that, we need to work out how the human mind works. And this model was put together by a man called Alfred Korzybski. So it's often called the Korzybski model. I think in the 1920s or 30s. So it's been around for quite a while. And it's one of the base models that we use in NLP. And as an engineer, I love models of how things work. Like, I'm not really into this esoteric type of trust and faith and all of that. I want to know how the mind works, how the brain works in order to get the best out of it. And this model tells me beautifully how it works and how we can change it so that we can get better results. You see, all information from the outside world comes into us through our 5 senses. Okay, I think I've got a picture here. And it comes in at a rate of 2 million bits of information a second. Sorry, I normally have a picture here of our feelings, our smells, tastes, sights, and sounds. So we're getting information at an enormous rate, 2 million bits of information into our 5 sense organs at any one time. But our brain, at least our conscious brain, cannot process this amount of information. It can only process 7 plus or 2 chunks of information a second, about 134 bits, which is less than 1% of all the information that's coming in through our 5 senses. So this is where our unconscious mind steps in and helps sort out that information. So it deletes 99.9 or 0.8% of all the information that's coming in and tries to figure out what's the most important information that we need at this point in time. And that creates what's called an internal representation. So you have a picture on the screen of my slides and you have my voice. And assuming that you're not distracted by your cat or something like that, then you're making an internal image of what this means to you. That is called an internal representation. And if you're liking what you're seeing, you'll have a positive internal state, which means once you make a judgment on this internal representation, it'll either create, oh, I like this, or I'm curious about this, or I want to know more, or man, this is the most boring lecture I've seen, you know, this side of Christmas. So I hope it's not, but whatever it is, it's creating a state. Now, all of these influence your physiology. So if you're in a negative state, it'll create the adrenaline and the negative chemicals, etc., to put you into a negative feeling state. If it's a positive state, likewise, it will put you into a really happy, positive, curious, open-minded state. And all of these things combined determine our behavior in the world. And our behavior determines the results we get in the world. So you can see that there's this link and flow of information through the various stages of our mind, which results in our behavior, which results in the results that we get in the world. And so NLP is beautiful because we actually study each one of these parts and we can make a change. Unfortunately, I can't really point to the screen, but we can make a change at the, what we call the filters. That is where we distort, generalize, etc. information so that it changes the very information that we're getting in. We also can make change at the internal representation, the state, the physiology, all with different processes that allow us to get different results in the world. And this is what makes NLP, in my mind, so powerful because it is so flexible. You can use on any one particular issue that someone has, you can use a number of different techniques at a number of different points in their psychology to get a change. So what I'm going to do is, I just feel like, so if some of you have any questions, I'm going to just stop for a minute there and go back to see if anyone has a particular question. So feel free to write it in the chat box while I have a sip of water. And if not, I will continue with that model. Danette asks, how do you get powerful and why? Well, we have what's called a power mindset, a physiology of excellence, and a psychology of excellence. And in NLP, we study that. We study what is the best physiological stance that you can take in order to have excellence, and what is the psychology that you need to achieve excellence every day. All right, great. Feel free to keep posting those questions, and I am going to go back to our presentation. I am speeding through this presentation because I know that I've got a lot to share. So this model tells us and gives us the basis for a lot of understanding of NLP. And the first one that we draw from this, I think the first important lesson that we draw from that model is, if we are only taking 0.1% of the information in at any one time, what are we missing in the 99.9% of the information that our unconscious mind is deleting or distorting or generalizing? I know that some of you will have heard of the theory of attraction, that if you set your mindset and you see a red Ferrari and see a red Ferrari and see a red Ferrari, eventually the universe will manifest it to you. Now, I guess I believe in the law of attraction, but I believe in it for a totally different reason to what other people believe in it. Some people believe that there's some higher power that's going to somehow drop a red Ferrari in their driveway. My version of it is slightly different. I believe that you can manifest the things in you, around you, because our universe, our world is replete with possibilities. Literally every person you talk to has to be on Zoom these days. You can't be down the corner shop. Hopefully we'll be back to that soon. But every person that you interact with has a universe of different possibilities. If you knew just the right questions to ask that person, chances are literally your next door neighbor could help you take that leap to the next level in one area of life or another. The problem in getting where we want to go is not that we're not in contact with the people and the resources to get those things. It's we just do not know the right question to ask, and often we're not even looking for it. So let's say we're really, really interested in the music scene, and yet we know we need to become healthier. You could walk past 10 different opportunities to get healthy, but because you're only interested in the music scene, your unconscious mind kind of filters them out, and you notice some small little advertisement, you know, way across the car park about some new band that's coming to town that you're interested in, and your unconscious mind will pick up the smallest details of stuff which which your unconscious mind is interested in, and it will block out many of the opportunities that perhaps we need more in our life, but we are not focusing on. So this is one of the big lessons for me, is to make sure that by setting your goals, you are really creating focus on those things that you want in your life. Now, the next thing from the Korzybski model, or this is slightly different, is this idea of cause and effect. Now, I'm going to put it to you that there are two types of people, or two types of mindsets in this world. One person who operates from a kind of effects side of thing, that they are at the effect of the world. Some people have this idea that a mindset that everything that's happened to them can be blamed on somebody else. And these are often what we call the whingers, you know, of life, the blamers. And so they're always complaining, well, how could I have done anything different? You know, with the COVID-19 crisis at the moment, how can we do any business at all? I might as well just give up. And after all, I didn't have a good education. You know, how could I achieve stuff with my education? I just went to a public school. And anyway, I've got this particular health issue which prevents me from getting what I want. And they always have excuses or reasons for why they can't achieve what they want to achieve. Now, there's another mindset, which is a more empowered mindset, which believes that they are the cause of everything that happens in their life. So even if, say, I don't know, a branch falls on their car, they'll say, well, it was my fault. I parked my car there. I should have thought about trees and the fact that branches do fall. You know, so they'll take on the responsibility of being to blame for both their failures, but also their successes. They realize that the buck stops at no one but oneself. Now, at the very least, some people will choose that even if they can't dictate everything that goes on in their life, the one thing that they are in charge of is their emotional response. So even when something bad happens to you in life, some people say, well, you know, well, look, this happened to me. No wonder I got mad, and no wonder I hit the guy over the face. Like, what else was I supposed to do? A person living at cause realizes at least that they can take charge of their emotional response to anything that happens to them in life. Now, I've already given you a hint, and because I'm on the screen, I can't see how many hands up. But if I said, well, then this is more controversial. So, which one of those is true about the universe? Are we at the whim of the universe where things happen to us, or are we at the pointy end where we dictate everything that happens to us in the universe? I usually like to have a vote. Are we the cause of everything that happens to us, or are we at the effect of whatever happens to us? And then there's always those people, I think, I don't know if this applies to you, but think, well, in some areas I'm the cause and in some areas I'm the effect. You know, like if you get hit by lightning and your house burns down, how can you say that I'm at the cause of that? Well, there are some people that believe that. I know the Buddhists believe that because they believe in the law of karma. But actually, whether it's true or not is immaterial because we cannot prove either way. But what I can say is that if you are the cause and you believe that you are responsible for everything that happens in your life, you will be far more empowered and you will therefore be far more successful in your life. So moving on, our beliefs influence us to empowerment as much as anything else. And that's just one belief. And in fact, one of the favorite quotes that many people love is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are correct, by Henry Ford. So coming back to this little reason why we don't do what we don't want to do, and I've just picked two here because they're the most common. Oh, I can't because I've got other things to do, or, you know, time or oh, I can't because I haven't got the money, etc. What I suggest to people is, instead of saying can't, say I won't. I mean, you could say this out loud. Like, say someone says, would you like to come out to dinner with the bowling club next Monday? Normally you'd say, well, I can't because well, in this case it's COVID-19, but in normal times it might be because I've got family responsibilities. Maybe you should say, I won't be coming with you because I'm choosing to spend the time with my daughter instead. That is a much more empowered response. Now, some people might perceive that as being a bit abrupt and a bit rude. So for their sake, you might want to use can't, but definitely in the language in your own mind, whenever you hear yourself say can't, you should immediately think, am I on the cause side of the equation or am I on the results side of the equation? If I want to be, cause or effect. If I want to be on the results, which is the cause side of the equation, means you're causing the results, you would say to yourself, no, I won't do this. And there may be valid reasons, which are all very, very fine. So take charge of your thinking. That's one example. Now, there are other mindsets that we go through in NLP, the first of which is, if someone else can do it, then I can too. And I've already talked about this, but because this is key. If you believe this, then you can almost believe that you are invincible, because you will always find an example of someone doing what you want to achieve. And if you believe this, then that gives you an enormous amount of motivation that, well, one person in the world have achieved it, so I can too. So this is what NLP is based on. The next one is the map is not the territory. One thing to understand is it's very humbling to think that whilst we live in this universe, what we're actually really living in is an internal representation of the universe. So when you see your friend, you're not really seeing your friend, you're actually looking at an internal representation of your friend in your head. And previously you have made judgments about your friend, and you would hope that those judgments are true, but they are not always true, as I'm sure your experience will have bared out that you've thought good of someone and they turned out bad, or vice versa. And actually the truth is that people are changing all the time. So one day they're good and one day they're bad. So to think of them as being a good person, in inverted commas, is false right from the beginning, because they can easily do something bad the very next day. But by understanding that we don't perceive the world as it is, but we perceive it as we think it is, that we are really only looking at a map inside of our mind, causes a great deal of humility and hopefully an ability to understand that we can change that map to see the opportunities that we previously missed in the world. Related to this is this idea that everything that happens to us in the world is in some way a projection of the mind. And in fact, it's said that if you can't, it's impossible to see something unless you have an understanding of it first. And there's a story that I like of, I think it's Christopher Columbus, who landed on one of the Pacific Islands, and the people there had never seen a tall ship before, and for several days did not even perceive the ships of Christopher Columbus until finally one of the people on the island pointed it out to the others and tried to get them to understand that there was something weird on the horizon out in the bay. And then all the people could see the tall ships that were so foreign to them that because they didn't even understand what they could be, they actually, it was like they were invisible to them. So like that, we see the good in others if we know that we have good in ourselves, etc. And we see the opportunity. Now there's many more of these presuppositions, which are kind of like empowered mindsets. These presuppositions have come about through neuro-linguistic programmers modeling successful people and finding out at the core, how do you think that the world, how do you perceive your map of the world, so to speak? And there are commonalities between what different successful people see about the world. Like, for example, the meaning of the communication is the response that it elicits. That's a really interesting one, and I love to spend a lot of time on this one because it's a powerful one. Because when we try to communicate to someone and we say, you know, I think that you could improve the way you do something by doing this. Now you think it's a helpful suggestion, but they perceive it as a slight against them, a way of trying to attack them. I'm sure you've been in this situation before. And so you as an NLP practitioner, if you are, have two choices. You can dig into your own position and say, no, that's not what I meant. You always take me the wrong way. Or you can understand that the meaning of your communication is the response that you're getting from the person. And what that does is it empowers you to change the way you communicate in the future so you don't get that same response and you get a different response. So all of these presuppositions are held by people, empower them to become better people. I'm starting to lose my voice here. NLP says if what you're doing isn't working, do something else. One of our favorites is there's no such thing as failure. You know, whatever you do in NLP, there's never any failure. There's only feedback on how to do it better the next day. I think Boris Becker said, feedback is the breakfast of champions. So we probably modeled him when we were taking this presupposition. So my question is, what is holding you back? So at this point in time, I've talked about that first part of empowerment, which is vision, which is mindset, which is where you want to go. Now, in this second part of the presentation, I want to talk about the next bit, which is those blockers, those things that are holding us back. And there are two things which hold us back from our vision. The first is negative emotions. We're scared to take that next step. And then the second is limiting decisions. We believe that we're unable to take that next step for whatever that reason that is. And so when people come in for coaching, we are looking for the obstacle, the mindset, which is holding them back. And I think NLP, more than any other therapy that I know of, is incredibly powerful at breaking through these patterns, because they are patterns, in the mind of negative emotions and limiting decisions. And I want to try one today. So when we use emotions, we can sometimes use timeline, because emotions didn't start when we were a baby. So for example, we weren't born angry, or we weren't born full of hatred, or we weren't born with anxiety. These things started at some point in our life, usually a significant event, which started that emotion. And what we do with timelines is we actually get rid of that, the meaning around that particular negative event that started that. We can also use something called submodalities. So I'm not going to do anything on emotion because it's too difficult over the screen, and with this amount of time, I don't have the time. But the next one that I want to do something on is on our decisions. Now, I get a lot of limiting decisions for people who come to coaching, and I've jotted down a few. I'm going to put those up on the screen, and I would like you to take a minute, as I give my voice a rest, to write down have you got any limiting decisions yourself? What is holding you back? What do you believe? What do you think you believe that is actually having a negative influence on what you want to get? So some of them you might feel, I have to work hard to make money. You might resonate with some of these limiting decisions that I've come across in my field, and say, oh, I've got that limiting decision there. Or you might have some of your own. So take a moment and write down what you've got. And if you're game, feel free to write it in the chat box as well, so we can all see, only if you're comfortable with doing that. Some of them are pretty funny, like thin people are superficial, but you'd be surprised how prevalent that is. So I'm just going to the chat bot. 100% laziness, low self-esteem, cause, effect, yep. Relationships never last, yep. Unworthy, good. All right, so I don't know is in fact a limiting decision. To some degree, it's a limiting decision. Struggle to succeed. So these are, you know, good and not uncommon mental patterns. And often these mental patterns are put into us even when we're young. Maybe a teacher or a parent or someone influential said something like, "Ah, you'll never amount to anything," or Oh, you're so clumsy. And that sticks in your unconscious mind and you keep questioning yourself. Am I not good enough? Am I always clumsy? Do I always have to struggle to succeed? Is it a law of the universe that all of this happens? It's all just mental patterns, and NLP is excellent at blowing them out. So I'm going to share with you something which is a way called submodalities to get rid of negative self-talk. So think about a sentence that you might say to yourself which sort of encapsulates this negative belief. And you might want to write it down on a piece of paper. Now, just as a side, I've taught my little kids this for bullying. So if someone bullies them, they do this exact process and actually blow the words of the bully out of their mind so that they're not affected by this, the bully's comments, which can turn into negative self-talk. So hands up if you want to see this. It takes about 2 minutes. It's so easy. Good. All right. I'm going to show you. I'll head back to my screen. All right. So you might have a saying that you might say to yourself, I'm not good enough. And it might be fairly bright. Now just take a moment to think, if that was written somewhere, where would it be? Imagining where it could be if it was, where do you feel this thought is coming from? Is it coming from the left or the right or straight ahead? How far ahead? What does it look like? I'm not good enough. Now I want you to take that thought and I want you to take it, if it's light, I want you to make it really dark. So there you go, getting really, really dark. All right, and I want you to take this sentence and visualizing it getting really small and way in the distance. Now you might even want to imagine it being taught in Donald Duck's voice or Mickey Mouse's voice. I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, or some little joker, stupid voice. Notice how it has less effect on you. And now imagine a bin, and this is in the lower right-hand side, it should be, but imagine it just sort of behind you to the right. And when you feel that it has no power, I just want you to flick it over your right shoulder and into the bin. And then once that's done, with a clear screen, I want you to bring up a new thought that I am totally powerful and good enough. I am enough absolutely in my own right, just through existing here in this universe. So the complete opposite of that negative self-talk. And make it big and bold in front of you. Make it powerful. Feel the energy radiating from that visualization. Maybe play some motivating music. Dun, 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 na, na, na. Maybe point the speakers down to the ground so the vibrations travel all through you. And feel that you are absolutely good enough for anything that you want to do. All right, so that is a way, and let me just, because I can't, actually, I might be able to do this. Yeah, okay. I can actually, I've changed it so I can actually see your videos now without having to stop the screen share. So hands up if you feel the power of that negative self-talk disappear and be replaced by positive. Hands up. Okay, I think I saw everyone. So that is a simple 2 or 3 minute exercise where you change the way you, it's what we call our internal representation. You change the internal representation, and as a result, it makes a state change in your body where you don't feel as affected by that particular state of negative self-talk. Now you can imagine if we just did that in 5 minutes, how a coaching session of 1 hour could absolutely change the way that you feel about a particular issue. We can totally rewire your brain so something that you've believed in for years suddenly becomes a laughing stock and ridiculous, and you realize that you believe something completely different. So that is the power of NLP. Now, coaching is the key to this, because mentoring and coaching allow you to be in the presence of someone that has already changed their mindset. And my analogy is like it's 2 logs in the fire. If you try to get one log burning on its own, it's incredibly different. But if you put that log next to the burning log of another log that's already on fire, very, very quickly the first, or the unburned log catches fire and starts blazing. And when you are with a coach, then you quickly kind of take on those same attitudes that the coach has, as well as his or her expertise in facilitating change within your own mind stream. So I really recommend coaching and mentoring to everybody. It is becoming way more popular. It is a booming business at the moment. There are people all over the world realizing they not only need one coach, they need a physical gym coach, they need a mindset coach, they need a diet coach, they need a spiritual coach. So coaching is a big booming business, and there's a reason for that. We succeed so much faster if we're around people that have made the change and also have the ability to facilitate the change in others. So I think my voice is kind of giving up. So what I'm going to do is I want to introduce you to an amazing coach, one of the most amazing coaches that I've ever met. And her name is Mana Abram. And one thing that is important with a coach is to be a powerful coach. You do need to point the finger to where it hurts, because the things that are holding us back are often skeletons in the closet that we've pushed down and we've tried to deny ourselves. And so it is tough bringing those things up. It's tough bringing up negative events of the past. And so many coaches flirt around with it. Other coaches are not very diplomatic in the way they bring that up. And the thing that I just love about Mana is she has such a presence about her. You know that you're loved right from the first 5 minutes of, chatting with Mana, because she's just got that presence about her and she's so genuine in what she does. But at the same time, she's not afraid to really be harsh and point at the patterns that she sees when she sees you developing certain patterns which are not helpful for you. And they are tough. They're tough to get over, but she does it beautifully. And this is the kind of thing that a good coach, sets a good coach apart from, other people that have just learned normal life coaching. So with that, I want to just hand over to Mana for the next few slides while I take a bit of a break to talk about, I think she's going to talk about values. Over to you, Mana. So I'm going to stop my share, Mana. And
thanks, Pete.
I'll put myself on silent.
All right. Thank you so much, Pete, for that amazing introduction. Now I had to stand up to the expectations. Yeah, hi, everyone. Yeah, so, yeah, that's right. And just from our experiences, what we understand is while we are working with people and when we are, can you all hear me? Just before I share my screen, I'll quickly give you a brief and we'll move on to that. So what we always see is that people say, I'm not able to achieve that, or why is this happening, which I really don't want, or why is there stress in my life, or why do I have conflict? Or they may be thinking small. They may be thinking, yeah, I just want to make this little money or this little small change to keep my family happy. That is how people generally tend to think. But with coaching, what happens is the moment you can expand your mind, just as Pete said in the earlier slides, focus, whatever you focus, that's what you will find and you will achieve it. So on the very first slide, Peter said NLP is about asking what do I want and modeling it. And then we also looked into the subconscious mind, which is the root of the tree, which is the fundamental belief. So one aspect of life, when the thoughts create reality and then the beliefs pretty much manifest around us, the other aspect to it is about your values. What do you want? And do you have guts to ask yourself, what do I really want? And then can you make a beginning? So that's all about values. I'll quickly share my screen and then we'll quickly run through the values. Sorry. Can you all see my screen, or are you seeing the presenter screen? Pete, can you see my screen?
It's just coming up. I only see black. I think I see the presenter screen at this stage.
All right, okay. All right.
The other option is to just go back to the PowerPoint.
Okay, so while it takes time to, all right. Yeah, that's right. My internet connection is unstable. Hopefully you all can hear me for the time being. Okay, so what happens with values is, what do you really want? And if you can identify and ask yourself,
we're not seeing your screen. Yeah, just do it like that. That's fine. I can see your screen now.
All right, okay. All right. So most of the times when people come for coaching, the fundamental thing is about what do I believe, and fundamentally at a subconscious level, you manifest your beliefs. So as most of you have said, I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. You're manifesting it subconsciously. The other aspect of life is about values. What do I really want? What is it really important to me? And again, referring back to Pete's slide earlier, you focus on the things that are important to you. And you may be thinking, oh, this is not what I want, but I'm living this life. Why is this happening? So the first question that you have to ask is about, what do I really want? And if you have to start your life all over today, forgetting about everything around you, what is that one thing that you would really want for you? And in order to achieve what do you want, think about, you have to make some changes. So in order to make the changes, you have to ask, what are the changes and at what levels I should be able to make a change? So can you see my next screen, which is logical levels? Pete, can you see my screen? Sorry, I'm asking Pete so that I can just hear the
Yes, we can. Yes, I can see logical levels.
Logical levels, okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So in order to achieve your values, there are certain things that you have to change. But most of the times people say, no, I don't want to go there. I can't make the changes now. But there's a strategy which we deal with much in detail in NLP Prac and NLP Master Prac, because the values you look for when you're owning a pet are very different from what you want from a partner. And that would be very different from the objects you want to buy. So when each person is so different and they all have different wants and different value levels, we become better people by understanding all these different values amongst people. But we can deal with that when we learn in depth about personal values as well as what sort of values we want in different aspects of our life in practitioner and master practitioner courses. But just for you to take away today, in terms of if you have something in your life at the moment that is causing you stress, or there is a conflict, or you want to achieve something but you're not able to achieve that. Even before going through the subconscious mind, if you can ask yourself, what do I want? And what changes should I make? What changes should I make in my environment? Because you are a byproduct of the 5 people around you. So what should I change in my environment next to me, around me? What behaviors should I change? Again, these logical levels operate from your cause and effect. You're a leader when you're operating from a cause, where what do I have to do to make this change and to make things happen? So you may think about what changes should I make in my behavior to ensure I get what I really want. Then once you achieve your environmental changes, behavior changes, and then about if you're not very good at cooking, so what can I do? What skills or what learnings or what competencies should I acquire? So ask yourself these 3 questions. Then move on to values and beliefs. Pretty much values and beliefs, they guide a person's life. Because if subconscious mind asks, what do you believe? Values ask you, what do you want? And they both together will guide a person, will guide you. So see what changes you have to make over there. As simple as what Pete has shown in terms of I'm not good enough. A simple belief change will open up the world for you right in front of you. Then the third, then if you go one step up, it is about your identity. Who are you and what do you want to be identified as? For some people, it is inspiration. For some people, it is about being freedom. And for some people, it is respect. And for some people, it is adventure. Ask, what do I want my identity to be? And what is it at the moment? And then the highest one is about the purpose and the vision. What is the purpose and the vision you have? Just as simple as you talked about 12 months goal setting at the beginning, but you can also talk about your life and see what's the purpose of my life and what is the vision. Once you understand what sort of changes you want to make on all these levels, then you work downwards. And so you would say, okay, so it starts with your purpose. What is my purpose? And then you come down with identity. Then you work down values and see what new skills you have to acquire, get the new change and acquire new behaviors, lifestyles, and change your environment and work on changing your environment. This is a simple takeaway for you tonight. If nothing, one with the goal setting, then with I'm not good enough, throwing it into the bin, and then asking if the things around me are not what I want, can I make this change? And or at these logical levels, you can make a change, and that will definitely make a difference to you. So are you with me so far?
Yep, good.
Okay. So now we move on to what is the NLP journey and why me and why am I sharing NLP journey? That's because 4 years ago, where I was working in a public practice firm, and 31st October, you know how busy it is for any person in a practicing firm where you just work Saturdays and Sundays and whole day and nights. And at that point of time, I asked myself, what is my belief and what are my values? And that question kind of led me to say, yes, as exactly, I don't have time, I don't have money at that stage because I'm not really asking, what is my value? And that kind of, it's like an epiphany, it's like a light bulb moment where I identified my values. And I thought, oh, that's the change. So going through my logical levels of change, I had to change my environment, which is I want to move up from there. Then I had to understand I had to change my behavior, which is be more confident, be more self-worthy and operate from that space. For that, what skills or competencies I have to, because I have 10 or 15 technical skills, but what is that skill that I have to acquire to make the change at an identity level, at a value level? And I realized I have to work on my mind, because if the mindset, if I can expand, that's the key to open up everything else around me. And that's how I found Peter Radcliffe, Skillful Mind, Adelaide NLP, and that has been my journey. It has been tremendously rewarding, satisfying. And then for Peter Radcliffe to say manner is good, that means that itself is an honor in itself to get that. So why and what sort of journey I took through, and what can you do with an NLP journey? As I understand from all of you over here, you all are in kind of service sector, wellness sector, and you're all givers. So one thing you can, as Pete has rightly said, you can start with coaching, so that even 30 minutes to 1 hour of a session will open up your mindset, and from there you will find opportunities. And one belief is esoteric, spiritual, so it happens from somewhere else, but the other end is your mindset will create your opportunities. It will open up the doors for you. So you can start with coaching, then NLP practitioner training. So by being an NLP practitioner, the moment you finish that, you can become a coach, and you can actually start helping people and start helping yourself first, because put your oxygen mask first, and then you can put for the others. Then you can become a coach. And the beauty about Adelaide NLP is, if you want to become a coach, we have another entity called Life Coaching Hub, where you can come on board, and Life Coaching Hub markets you, your profiles, and then you can be a coach. And in this case, I find that Pete offers even pro bono clients to many of the past NLP prac students. So you can practice becoming a coach, and you can establish yourself as a coach. I saw someone saying they want to be a counselor qualified by May 2021. But with NLP, you can start it pretty much. We're starting our classes in 29th of June. And by 15th of August, probably you can call yourself a coach and start helping people and move in the direction. You can do that. Then once you become a coach, NLP kind of introduces you to the basics of your mind and how you can work with it. And NLP Master Practitioner training, that kind of gives you another level of understanding about your subconscious mind and how you can unlock your potential. How you can actually, how you are more than enough, not just being a human, but how you are more than enough with your mind. That's what NLP Master Practitioner training does to anybody. And it's a deeper level of change, which happened to me. It opened up another world for me. And from then on, I moved on with different opportunities. They come to you. The beauty of this is, once our subconscious mind opens up, opportunities come to you because you're attracting them. So I saw someone saying, I had to struggle. I had to work hard to make money. But if you open up your mindset, they come to you because you attract them. And the moment you do a master practitioner training, you can become a master coach. That's not, I didn't include it here, maybe my bad, I forgot to. So the moment you become a master practitioner with that deeper level of knowledge, you can work on deeper issues. You can work on issues like deep traumas, abuses. You can work on that. And you become a master coach. And you can be helping many people, and now world is your oyster, and you can reach anybody through your coaching. So that's an NLP journey for anybody. And pretty much within 12 months, you can start and you can establish yourself as a master coach and start attracting opportunities. Let me move on to the next slide. Value. So I quickly, there are some, Pete is definitely offering a lot of bonuses tonight, but then in general, this is the value we offer NLP to everyone else. And if it is not an early bird offer, which would be, you will see that it's a 9 days NLP practitioner course, which is starting from 29th of June. That's about 3,995. Plus, you know that Pete is a monk and he is an excellent meditation teacher. So it is very meditation intensive, because mind and meditation cannot work in isolation. They both have to work together. So that's why it is very meditation intensive. And that's why in my introduction, I said, Pete comes as like a holistic mind guru, where you have meditation intensive, that's about 330. Plus you get an NLP manual, which you can take away with you, which is thicker than any other NLP book that you can get from the market. Plus you also have an NLP home study program, which Pete, I think he did about 6 months of work in just putting that program together, which you have access to. And the bonus is you would get 12 months of one-on-one coaching in this package, which is costing about 2,885. That's the value. Plus, this is only unique to Adelaide NLP's course, is lifetime support. But if you do the prac once, anytime in your life, if you want to come and do the refresher, there's no charge and you can do it. So, which I availed it, and there were never no questions, no procedures, nothing. If you want to attend the course again, it's anytime you can do the course, and for that it's 2,450. So the value for this total is about 10,795. So, but I'll put a but there, and I'll now talk about the dates. So we have an online NLP practitioner course coming up from 29th of June to 3rd of July, and because of COVID-19 and also to ensure that instead of live, we are doing it online. So it's for 29th of June to 3rd of July and 27th of July to 30th of July. Plus you get 12 months one-on-one coaching, which is an early bird offer. So from here, I would leave it over to Pete to talk about the offers tonight and how we can help you. Over to you, Pete.
All right, no worries. So you're going to unshare. Is it easier if I
Yes, yeah.
share? So we're in uncharted territory, I guess, here in the sense that normally I'd only do these live trainings, and you know, if you can make it to Adelaide, of course, live trainings are so much nicer to be in the room, but because of the situations in here, our next training we can't do it live, so it does make it unprecedented in that we're going to do it online. We cover all the same material. We will make extensive alterations to make sure that we can qualify you online, and that allows us to open us up to basically all the people around the world. So we've got people from the UK on the call today, and they will be welcome to join us as we do these live online trainings, which is really, really exciting. So let me just zip through these slides. As I say, they will be starting fairly soon. We do need a minimum of 6 people. So we've already got a couple of people that are interested. So we've got 4 more spots. We will open up only to a maximum of 10 to 12 people. 12 is our absolute maximum number of people that will take on this course. So there is only a limit to the amount of people that we can take on the course. Now, my goal, of course, is to help you empower your mind. And I really want to do my utmost to give you everything that has helped me to create what I believe, you know, I'm a very, very happy life in a successful NLP business and meditation business. But more than that, has helped me from a personal point of view. And so my goal these days is to help you achieve that as much as possible. And so my goal in the next few slides is to try and convince you that NLP is definitely something, if you feel some sort of resonance to it, then it is a little bit of a leap. And I think that it is worth every cent. Certainly it's been worth it to me 100 times over doing my original NLP course about 10 years ago. So to try and sort of get you over the line, so to speak, what I want to do is I want to just take out some of the cost to you to make it a no-brainer. So the NLP course, which is normally 10 days, we may do it in 9 days online, because we'll be setting some online work, which normally we do in the training. But we're going to take it down to 3,495. Now, as I say, we do something different in an NLP practice, which you won't get anywhere else in the world, where I teach you about how meditation and NLP can interrelate, and they really work well together. So I really use the two together to empower the mind. And that intensive we're going to make for free. So we're not going to charge you anything for that intensive. We're also going to give you the manual and also the home study program, which, as I said, I spent over 6 months creating, and is in fact a whole audio file of the whole program, which was put together professionally a couple of years ago. Now, this 12-month one-on-one coaching, you don't get anywhere else. And as I said, coaching is key. Having a mentor to work with is absolutely key. And we are also going to throw that in for free for our online teaching, for our online classes. So you can get a coach online to help you with 12 months worth of support. And that will begin with a lesson, an initial coaching from Mana. And what we want to do is we want to make sure this whole program is right for you. And to be honest with you, if I get you to sign up, let's say we get you to sign up for the full price of $3,995, and you go through the whole course, and I used tricks and everything to get you to sign up, and then 6 months down the track, people are asking you, you know, how's the NLP course? And you're like, well, it didn't really work for me. I would rather give you your money back free of charge so that you have a positive experience. We only want people who are really going to be empowered by this stuff and positive. So in the first coaching session with Mana, not only will we dig deep into what motivates you and what your values are and what you're trying to achieve in life to see if this is a good fit for you, but we also want to assess whether the NLP is the right journey for you. And we will be honest, and if we believe that it's not in the right direction, and I believe that for most of you it will be, but if we perceive that one of you that could go in a different direction, like maybe you need to go you know, down another route first or whatever, we will actually recommend that, and we will give you back any deposit that you've paid and say, look, it's all for free. We actually recommend you go down a different route, because I really only want to make sure I attract people that are genuinely thrilled and positive that we're going to make a good change. We do have a money back guarantee as well. So at any time, if you want your money back, we will give that back. The other thing is the lifetime support. Again, we are going to make that for free. So the total cost for doing the whole course is only going to be $3,495. Everything else, the whole year, we're going to give you support. And that support can literally start from tomorrow onwards if you want it to. So let's say you did this course and there's so much that you can gain from it. But what happens if you only were able to take it as personal development and become a better parent, or maybe a better partner, or a better friend, or a better aunt or uncle? Would it be worth it to be a better person? Many of the people who do NLP practitioner, their prime goal is to be and model a better person for their kids, because your kids, whether you like it or not, they are totally modeling you. And so they will model your faults as well as, you know, your abilities. So if we can become better in ourselves, just by being better ourselves, we're creating a better model, especially for our kids, but everyone around us will model us. So some people do it just for that. Now, would it be worth it if you were just able to increase the number of clients by an extra couple of clients per week? The cost, as you know, is $3,495. Now, we, as Mana said, I have a lot of people coming to me, and I actually give out, I often refer my clients to coaches that I think are in a better niche and can help those people. And so one of the things we'll show you is how to do a breakthrough session. And you can charge $1,695. I think Mana charges even more than that, but generally people charge about $1,500 plus GST for a one-day coaching session. So you only need 2 clients to pay for the whole of the NLP course. And we will often give you those clients once we're confident that you've got these skills to be able to do that. Particularly as right now, I have over 100 meditation leaders in the UK, and I can't do meditation, I can't do coaching over in the UK. So I would be looking for people in the UK to do that coaching for me. So imagine if you were able to get a couple of coachings, would it be worth it? Absolutely. But what if you didn't get that? What if all you achieved was you were to be able to change your state to be happier in your own self? If you were to get rid of those negative feelings, which is a really major part of NLP. You can't put a price on happiness, can you? So if you're able to change your level of internal happiness, even that would be worth the money. So that's why I feel that in so many areas, NLP can help. And even if it only helps in one of those areas, it's worth doing. What if you became more effective at your job? Say you became a better salesperson. I guess I put that in because that was the reason that I did NLP, was that I was working as an engineer at the time. And as a result of doing NLP, I was able to gain contracts for my company in excess. Many of the contracts were around $200,000. So I got 3 or 4 contracts, so probably $500,000 worth of contracts for my company. Now I got the same salary, but then they did pay for my NLP course. So I guess that's a good trade-off. But even that, you know, it was worthwhile. And what if we were able to show you a whole new life? Now, the truth is a lot of people that come to us and want to do NLP are pretty much sick of the current life in the way it is. And they would really like a big change. And NLP gives you the motivation. It gives you the family, because we will be your family after this, the support and the knowledge and the tools to be able to become a life coach in whatever area of life that you want. And indeed, if you can do that with your life, then NLP is worth its weight in gold. Even though virtually it doesn't weigh anything, but it's whatever you want it to weigh, that's how valuable it is. So as a reminder, we want to give you all of these things because we want to pack it full of everything that you need to make sure that you're a success. And in particular, I guess I do want to draw your attention to this 12 months worth of coaching, because that is invaluable, because you then have a sounding board, not only once you've done the NLP practitioner course, but really how to take it to that next step. So many of the people that have been through our practitioner course have been able to change their life. And what I want to do here, I've never done this before, so I'm going to hope that this works. And it's not going to work if I can't get this up. Now just let me know.
I was about to cancel, call it in cancel, but then part of me said, you might.
Sorry, can someone let me know that they can see and hear that video?
No, you have to share the screen, Pete.
Yep, I'll do that. Just give me a second. No, that's the PowerPoint. Come on, technology. Yes, this is going to work. Can you see the video now?
It's still, I think, has started screen sharing. It's loading. Yeah, today net has been bad. Yep.
Excuses.
I think every day.
Can you hear that?
Yes, Pete, we can.
Great. Okay. So
It's slow.
Call it in cancel, but then a part of me said, your mind is making excuses.
I think every day I learned something new. So yeah, it was fantastic.
Well, to be quite honest, I didn't have any expectations other than I knew it would be good for me, body, soul and heart.
There's a particular issue people want to try and work on, something that's blocking them, an obstacle they've got in their life. I think this is really powerful.
I describe it best like my life is a snow globe. NLP just shook it all up and then put it back on the shelf, and everything was settling. And I panicked at the time. Oh, it's not going back in the right place.
What I've found is that it's a really well engineered program.
And the material that he offers is extremely difficult to grasp, and he explains it in a way and gives examples in everyday life that really helps us to understand what that particular message is. He's a really good teacher.
There's a breadth of content, what you cover in a really short space of time, and the way that you do that really with a good balance of head and heart. There's there is, as I said, an elegant simplicity in the way that you put the program together, and it's actually really powerful.
My witnessing of myself is deepening, and I'm opening to what I would say would be a truer me.
And as the course went on, everything settled in exactly the right place. And I felt empowered to be something that I never was before.
And it's exceeded the expectations because of all the deep NLP work that Peter's done with us has brought out some really significant things about my life that I probably hadn't even considered before.
What I've taken from this is that whatever excuse you make is actually an excuse you make. It's not an excuse out there. So you should be able to do it every single day without hesitation, because the impact and benefits that you derive from this are immeasurable.
I would suggest anyone can be a part of this program, either as part of the community or as a leader, because it's just been phenomenal.
Within someone, even if they don't know why, they feel some kind of connection, this is something they want to do, then it's worth, you know, connecting with that and pursuing that.
It's been absolutely amazing.
So why stay in your own prison when there are people that have the door wide open, according to Rumi? So I don't know if anyone has any questions before we kind of finish off the questions. So maybe I'll take a moment to take a break and I'll look at the chat window. Okay. Is there anyone, you can either go on speaker or just put it in the chat window if you have any questions. All right, so I'm going to just share the last few slides. Oops, wrong one. So the question is this for you?
Yes.
Good job. All right. So maybe put it in your box if this is something that you feel drawn to, that this is something that you would like to engage in. Do we have to unlearn things? Good question from Sitanya. We need to put some things aside while we do the NLP course, but then it's actually good to incorporate the two together. Anyone else? Is this for you? Now there's some hesitation. Someone's written, what are the deeper issues you talk about when you do the master practitioner? So it's first of all, it's a refinement of what we do a practitioner, and the deeper issues are really around identity and purpose. We go into sort of, the way people perceive themselves in the world more so than at practitioner level. You know, how we create an identity and how we create a hero's journey for ourselves. We go a lot into values, more so of that in master practitioner than in practitioner. All right, so I'm really doing my best here to persuade you that you should at least consider this. Some people are keen, but typically a lot of the people at this stage, they are kind of wondering, oh, is this for me or is it not? And so I guess the question that we're interested in is, if you are sort of wondering, well, part of me feels like this is something for me, or part of me feels some sort of hesitation, what is it that is holding you back? So maybe put in the chat box what you feel is holding you back. often we can address these. I'm very, very curious to know if something is holding you back. Are you worried about finances? Are you worried about whether it gels with what you're doing? Are you worried about the quality of the program? Do you feel that it's, you know, what is it that's kind of holding you back? You can see there's a couple of people typing there. So it's timing for Layla, June, distance. Another course at a minute, would prefer to give all my time. So another course on the thing. And yeah, we do have an experience, would be great. All right, so there's definitely some things there. What we want to do is make sure, even if it's not right for you at this point in time, that it is something that you start to work towards, because this really is transformational. Now, because it's so transformational, that's why we require the time to go through every aspect of it. Now, there are many courses out there that are $99 that are maybe just for half a day or a day. And often we'll pay that amount of money, but we don't really get an enormous amount of benefit from it. When you want to make a big change in your life, it does require, unfortunately, a fair bit of investment from a number of different angles. And so what we find, Peter, is hypnosis, including in NLP. Yes, we do learn about hypnosis as part of the NLP. You actually end up getting 3 certificates: NLP, hypnosis, and timeline. So all of those parts are included in the 9-day prac of NLP. I guess I want to go back to my 2 favorites. There are 2 reasons why most people do hesitate: the money and the time. Now, some people have courses on at the moment, or they're busy at the moment, and they want to fit it into their schedule. What I would say to that is that if you have a clear path how you're going to fit in what is important to you in your life, in your schedule, then it will come sooner than you think. But if you sort of put it off and say, well, I'm busy at the moment, I'll think about it in 3 or 4 months' time, then those people tend to procrastinate. And I've definitely had people that I've rung up 7 years after I first contacted them, and they're still saying they would like to do an NLP course, but now's not the right time. So I think there's a saying, if not now, then when? Now, if you can't make the June program, we will have other programs. Now, it may require you, of course, to fly to Adelaide, which is not a bad thing. It's a beautiful place we've got here, but we will have other programs. But if you can lock yourself in, if this is something you really love, then I urge you to at least put that goal in your future and lock yourselves in to do it. Now, my question is, with a lot of time when people say, you know, I've got money issues or I've got time issues, often is it a fear or is it fact? Because 2 things. With money, it's about, we live in the West, we're fortunate, we do have access to money. And if you ask yourself, if you really wanted to get like $10,000, let's say you had it for an emergency operation for health reasons, you had to come up with it. You would come up with it like that. But because it's mental development, mind development, some of us think, well, we can defer that. We'll wait till down the track. I would urge people to say no. Operating on your mindset is important right now. It's not something that you can put off into the future. But of course, that is your decision in the end. So is it fear or is it fact? From a money point of view, the question that most people are really asking is, am I spending my funds most wisely? And when there's a doubt, they need to step back and they procrastinate about with the certain amount of allocation of funds. Do I spend it on, you know, something that I want for the house, or do I spend it on a holiday, or do I spend it on a course like this? Again, you have to decide, is your mindset the most important part of your development as a human being? Because you can sort of spend less money on cheaper things, half-day courses or other courses that don't get to the root like NLP does of making you an empowered person. So we want to make sure we give you quality of service. And you'll see that there are many NLP practitioner courses, some more expensive, some less expensive. We want to come up with a price which is good for you, but also ensures that we can give you the best of ourselves in order for you to come up with it. And that's why we include that coaching package. It's something that very few other practitioner courses would ever think about doing, but it's critical that you achieve that success, which is why we want to achieve it. And as for time, we all have 24 hours in the day. Something that I learned a long time ago is the reason something doesn't get done is not that you run out of time, it's because it's not a priority to you in your life. And so think about the things that you spend your time on and ask yourself, is each and every one the highest priority in my life? And if it's not, drop it and allocate that time to something that is important in your life. So, as I say, tonight's offer, 3495. Now, the way this works is that we need a deposit for you to lock you into the program, into this offer of getting all of those things for free. Now, with your deposit, we actually send you all the materials so you can start learning NLP straight away. We also start your coaching package off, as I say, with a one-off coaching session with Mana to make sure this is right for you and right for us at the same time, because we want to make sure that you fit and that you have success in our program. Now, we offer an absolute money-back guarantee. So at any time up until the first, and even after the first day of training, if you're willing to go to the first day of training, or at any time like after the coaching package, if you decide this is not for you, that's your $500 back. We would much rather you go away happy and, you know, say good things about us rather than trying to say, well, no, that's your deposit, bad luck, you don't get your deposit. So if you are interested in signing up, whether that is right now for the June one or the August prac or one at the end of the year or early next year, then it's just $500, and for that you get a coaching session, you get all the materials free, so you get way more than $500 worth of you know, personal growth just out of that, and it's 100% money back guarantee. So there's absolutely should be a no-brainer for you to at least take that first step towards a better you. Now, my final slide is so that's, I just talked about that, sorry. So you can decide after that where you want to go with that. I also want to talk a little bit, we've got about 10 minutes left to talk about what happens after prac. Because as I said, we have a practitioner which will go for 10 days. It's, by the way, it's split up into blocks. At this stage, it's a 5-day block and a 4-day block. We do have some flexibility around that, but at this stage, the dates are starting in June, but it will be at least a 9-day, possibly a 10-day practitioner. It will be from, depending on the UK, we might be starting around lunchtime and going through till sort of the early evening, depending on how that suits people in the UK and Australia at the same time. But I want to talk about what happens after prac, because I guess at some stage your coaching will end, but there is a massive amount of support that we can give you in addition to the NLP prac itself. So once you've learned the tools and want to become a coach, that's when you're journey really begins. And we can support you through something we call the Life Coaching Hub, which is a group of coaches that come together and help each other through referrals of clients and support and that sort of thing, that we all grow together. So we want to all grow together in this field. And we do that through a mastermind group called the Life Coaching Hub, and you would be invited to join that. We also give you access to business, sales and marketing mentoring to ensure that you have success. And some of you may have been on a recent webinar that we did with Andrew Keating, who is a sales expert. And so you will get all of that support on how to create those customers. And, you know, if you get customers that you don't fit with, you can refer them on to us. And we likewise refer customers back to you. We also give you access through my work in wellness and mindfulness programs for schools and corporates, if that's something that you want to move into. We have annual retreats, and you're welcome to come to our annual retreats, and you're welcome to come and do some work on those retreats. So often I'll get practitioners that work with us to come and do coaching on our retreats. I'm unable to do it because I'm doing the teaching. So if you want to holiday to Bali and do some work at the same time, then that's open to you if you do the NLP program with us. We have our meditation leader program if you want to start meditation classes. And most of all, we want you to find a tribe where you really truly belong and that you will want to stay with the rest of your life, that can help support you and that you can help support us. So that is my final prac for the evening. I want to finish with a great quote from Mahatma Gandhi, who says that to be the change that you want to see in the world, you must be that change. So change yourself, and as Mana said before, you will be amazed at how things begin to change for you. So with that said, if you are willing to take that leap and jump in, whether that's tonight for tonight's presentation or for our live events, I should make a small distinction. We are doing a bit of a more of a discount on the online course than the live course in August. So probably should have made that distinction earlier. There is a slightly different cost structure for our prac in August, because of the expenses that we incur in doing that. But Mana will talk to you about that. But if this is something, it shouldn't really be a matter of price at this stage. If you feel resonating for this, then please stay on the webinar. We're happy to answer. I'm going to open it up to questions at the moment, and then you can talk to Mana or I, and we can definitely take your details and start getting you the material and organizing your coaching sessions so that you can start to really feel excited. And maybe this night is or this day, if you're in the UK, is your pivotal day where you will make that transition. So with that being said, I shall stop the share and I shall open it up to any questions. If you have a simple question, put it in the chat box. If you have a more complicated question, please feel free to turn your microphone on, and we'd love to answer any questions that you have.